Hello, Lincoln. Welcome. This is the first of hopefully several talks that I'm going to sort of present to you as sort of a little mini series based on sort of Frisbee theory. We're going to go through some footage of previous years, breaking down sort of thought processes and why we think about different things, and also in particular movement and why we do certain movements and why they work. Just so hopefully it makes things a bit clearer when we're trying to explain things to you, that you can sort of see it, I can explain it, we can show it in some slides to sort of visualize it, and then I've got a clip as well of each of the movements just to sort of hammer it home, and we can hopefully learn a bit that way. So obviously this is the first one, it's a bit of a draft, it's going to be a bit rough around the edges, hope that's okay. I'll try and polish things up as we do more of them really. So the first one's going to be on Endzone ISO. Obviously this is a concept that's new to quite a few people. Endzone ISO is a thing that we use at Lincoln to help be more clinical when we get close to the endzone line. Normally we do it on a turnover because it allows us to set, but you could also do it off a timeout. I think we tried doing that both against Birmingham and against Nottingham. It didn't quite work. So hopefully this shows you the movement that we should be doing from an isolation position. So this clip, this setup is taken from a real game. This was a game against Warwick, and it is your typical situation you might find yourself in if you are near the end zone line. Blue are on offense, red are on defense, and we've set up an isolation here with the front player. So we've still got our stack. The stack sets up with the back player at the very end of back of the end zone, and the isolation player is at the front of the end zone. When we talk isolation, there's sort of three areas we're trying to hit within the end zone. You've got this break side area, you've got the open side area, but it's sort of in between the defense, and then you've also got this open side area on the wide slot. Normally when I'm talking isolation cutting, we need to run towards one area, get the defender to commit to one of these three areas, and then run to another one. It's pretty straightforward. It is that simple. Get your defender to commit to one and go to the other way. This is the cut that I used quite a lot. It was very successful. I'd run towards this zone here. As soon as my defender had committed to this zone, I'd turn around, check 180 degrees, go back the other way, and receive a pass sort of behind the defender's back to this open space. For this clip, you've got Zach on the Frisbee, Zach Howard, you've got Jack Davis as the dump, and me as the isolation. You've got the rest of the players in the stack. And you'll see I do exactly this cut. This is exactly the cut I do. So hopefully this gives a good visual representation of this. So, as you can see, you've got Zach on the Frisbee. I'll point you out. Zach on the Frisbee. Jack's just off frame, but you can see the defender's marking him. And here I am at the front of the end zone with a stack with the back of the stack at the back of the end zone. I start making my run towards the middle circle that we talked about in the previous slide. I check and I go back and catch the disc. It looks pretty simple, but you just have to be really careful with your angles and making sure you're going at the right time. At this point, I'm making eye contact with Zach. Zach knows what I'm looking for because we've done this several times already this season. And all I need to do is wait for my defender to get up to speed, commit to this first zone, check, and score. So eye contact is key with the handler. This next set is another real world situation that we came across when we played against Nottingham 2 seasons ago, not the game this week. Again, I'm the isolation player, and what you'll see is I notice that we've got the turnover right on the end zone line. So our zone's just got a turnover. We're just picking up right in the middle of the pitch, right in front of the end zone line. So my position here as an isolation player is too close. I've got no space to work with. So what I do, and you'll see in the clip, is I move back to the front of stack. That's not to say that I'm not now isolated. I'm still isolated. We're still leaving the space for me to work with. But I'm just doing it from a different position. I still have the 3 zones, so I still have the break side zone, the close open side zone, and the far open side zone. So I'm still going to do the same thing, but from this position, because of the distance I've got in front of the to the end zone line, all I need to do as a cutter is get my body in front of my defender. Zach knows that I'm going to be wanting to do that. He knows that I want to get in front of the defender and score in one of these 3 areas. So that's what he's looking for. We've still called an isolation. We're still playing it as such. And you'll see in the clip, take a little jab step inside just to get in front of the defender, slide my body in front, and then it's just a simple run in, really. But it's important to notice that I moved from this position back to generate space to allow me these areas to cut into. If I was too close, there would be I couldn't go anywhere. There'd be no threat. I'd had to have done something quite dramatic in order to get the disc, or I might have got the disc sort of down here in this area, and obviously that's not scoring. So just take a few steps back, generate the space. So we've just got the turnover. You'll see me, I take a position in the front of the stack, in front of the end zone. I quickly notice that there's not enough space. So I turn around, move the stack back, talk to the stack, make sure they're moving backwards. Zach's picked the disc up. So we're set we're set now in the position from the slide with Nottingham on defence. My defender sort of standing directly in front of me. Disc is in. So you're going to about see me. I'm doing a step inside to get in front of them, slide in front, and just simple score. But that comes from knowing the space that I want to attack, and knowing actually all I need to do is be in front of my defender when I get to that space. I don't have to do anything fancy. I just have to get in front of them. So we'll see this clip again. Step aside, in front, simple score. Cutting doesn't have to be too complicated. You just need to know where you need to be and what situation you need to be in. Where do you want the defender to be? So I know that I need to be in that area with the defender behind me. It's as simple as that. This third clip comes from probably the best team we played against in that Buck season. They were the only team to beat us. And they really did have some really good players, and they were well drilled. So it's a very similar situation. We've got the disc on the end zone line. Nottingham Trent set up with a poach. So poach is a player that doesn't necessarily mark man to man, just marks the space. And it's a very effective way of getting some pressure on sort of definitely university teams, but even higher level teams, because it throws off the cutting patterns. We still have our 3 zones, but as you can see, this isolated player is technically marking these 2 zones, which makes it really difficult for Matt to generate any sort of distance. When you've got a poached player, the offensive player that's not being marked has to be active. You have to make sure that you punish them for poaching. If the marked player just stands in the stack and doesn't do anything, they gain everything with no downsides. So we have to make sure we notice that early, and the poached player works. So as you'll see in the clip, the defender moves off me to mark Ryan at the back of the stack. This tells me that I'm the poached player. I'm the player that this defender is supposed to be marking, which means I need to be the one that's active in this situation. You'll also see Matt do a little fake just as the disc is about to be picked up, and you might have to watch it a few times, but you'll see his defender and also my defender both react to Matt's movement. That's something to notice, that my defender is switched on to Matt and not me, so I need to be the one that's doing something. Matt executes a textbook isolation cut. He chooses to go for this break side circle and back to the center. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But notice how his first cut draws my defender away. My defender runs with Matt and tries to help his teammate in stopping Matt getting to this circle. That allows me to track Matt's cut and take this open space and score in this zone here. So Matt's cut has generated this space by drawing both defenders to this side of the field. So it's still end zone offense. It's still isolation. It's just if the isolation is blocked, this is how it would work. But it's all about being aware as the poached player and knowing where that space is. So again, it's a score that looks pretty simple, but it's all broken down by it's all generated from Matt's initial cut and us both being aware that this defender is switched onto Matt and not me. As I'm coming forward, you'll see me be very vocal, be very physical. I'll be waving and trying to communicate to Zach that I'm free and I want the disc. So yeah, we'll watch the clip a few times just to sort of narrow it in. So Zach's about to pick the disc up. See, Matt's about to do his fake. He's got a little fake here, and we've got movement from both players. The defender switches off me onto Ryan. Space opens up with Matt's cut, and I'm straight in. It's a really nice score, actually. All generated from Matt's movement and me being aware of where the poach is. So Matt, little fake. This player moves, this player moves. We both know what's going on. As Matt runs across, this huge hole opens up, and all I've got to do is run into it. It's a fun little bonus clip. I just had another clip. I thought I'd chuck it in at the end. It's another one against Nottingham 2. It just shows that you don't necessarily have to have a set stack, a set ISO in order to do any of this movement. I'm coming from a mid position. I do the exact same thing. I get my defender up to speed, forcing them to mark one way, check and go the other way. Simple score. That kind of concludes this as a sort of initial video. I've sort of rambled on. I'd love some feedback as to if it's like too long, if I've skipped over some stuff, if there's any questions you've got, please send them to me. Obviously the footage is quite grainy, but it's sort of the best I've got, so it's all I've got to work with. I can try and bring in some other footage, some sort of higher level footage and things, but I think a lot of this footage I'm using things that I did, so I can explain my thought processes, what I was looking at, what I was thinking in those moments, and how I was reading the game. I think that could be quite useful. But yeah, let me know. I'll try and do something else some point soon. Got quite a busy week coming up, but yeah, let me know.